Hello and welcome to Accelerate AI's YouTube channel. In this session, we will learn how to write and execute Python code in Jupyter Notebook. The Jupyter Notebook extends our console-based approach to interactive computing by providing a web-based application for capturing the computation process. Jupyter Notebook consists of three components: a web-based application for interactive authoring of documents, the notebook document itself, which is a collection of all the inputs and outputs of computation in a rich media output, and a kernel, which is this process started by the notebook web application that runs the code in a given language and returns the output back to the notebook application. The main features of a web application is it allows us to edit our code in browser with automatic syntax highlighting, indentation, and tab completion. It also provides us the ability to execute code from the browser with the results of the computation attached to the code which generated them. It displays the computation at rich media representations such as HTML or PNG. In browser, it allows us to edit this text as well using a markup language called Markdown, and it provides us the ability to also include mathematical notations with Markdown cells. The notebook file serves as a complete computational record of a session, interleaving executable code with explanatory text, maths, formulas, and representation of the results of the objects. The document is internally a JSON file and is saved with the .ipynb extension. Since JSON is a plain text format, it can be version controlled and shared with colleagues. Notebooks can be exported into a range of different static formats as well, like an HTML, a PDF, or a slideshow via the nbconvert command. Now let's see how to launch a Jupyter Notebook. There are three ways to launch a Jupyter Notebook. First is using the command prompt, which I'll show you in a while. The second is via the Anaconda Navigator, assuming you have installed the Anaconda distribution of Python. So the Anaconda Navigators look something like that, and you can click on Jupyter Notebook in here to launch Jupyter Notebook. And the third option is from your menu itself, you can go and launch Jupyter Notebook from the menu on your Windows computer. On command prompt, this is the easiest and I use it the most often. Just type Jupyter and the notebook with a space and just hit enter. This will execute and start the Jupyter server, and then on your browser it will open up the Jupyter dashboard. You will know that Jupyter Notebook is correctly opened if you see a page like this one opening up on the browser. Jupyter Notebooks supports multiple browsers including Chrome, Safari, Firefox, Edge, and Opera as well. In some versions of Edge and Opera, it may not work very well, so it's always recommended to either use Chrome or Safari browser or a Firefox browser. When you will first open the notebook, the browser opens into what is called as the notebook dashboard. The dashboard serves as a home page for the notebook. Its main purpose is to display the files in the current directory. How do we open a new notebook file? In order to open a new notebook file from the browser, just click on New here and select the type of file you want. So here we want a Python 3 file, so I'll click on here. If you have other kernels installed, you might see a few others as well. As an example, I have R installed here, so it shows me an R notebook as well. So I'll click on Python 3 and it will open up a new notebook. When the new notebook opens, you will see how it looks like. The new notebook will have the title here, so I can give it some title like test. It has the menu bar as well as the toolbar, and here it has the kernel indicator, so it shows which particular language of the file this one is. Let's talk a little bit about the structure of the notebook document. So a notebook document consists of three basic cells. It's an interlay of cells. There are three different types of cells: the code cells, the markdown cells, and the raw cells. Code cells is where it allows us to write and edit code with full syntax highlighting and tab completion. The programming language depends on the kernel. Here for Jupyter Notebook, the default kernel is IPython, which runs Python code. Markdown cells, so you can select the type of cell by highlighting a particular cell and then choosing a different type of code. So markdown cells are cells where we document the computational process in a literal way. As an example, I can write this is a test file. So it will just show me the plain text that I have written. We can also provide it different syntax highlighting and other facilities. As an example, if I can click on double hash, this says it is header 2, and it will appear as a header in here. The third one is the raw cells. The raw notebook is essentially a cell which is not executed by the Jupyter notebook. These are not evaluated by the notebook and appear in the output as is. Jupyter notebook has a modal user interface. This means that the keyboard does different things depending on which mode the notebook is in. There are two modes. One is the edit mode and the other is the command mode. The edit mode, if I want to click here, I enter the edit mode. In edit mode, the cells become green and it shows a prompt in the editor area. If I move out from here, it goes into the command mode. In command mode, the cell is indicated by a gray border with a blue left margin. In the command mode, we are able to edit the notebook as a whole, but not type into individual cells. Most importantly, in command mode, the keyboard is mapped to a set of shortcuts that lets you perform notebook and cell actions. As an example, if I press on B, it essentially means I add a new cell below. So this is what it is doing. There are many important keyboard shortcuts. Few of the ones that you want to remember are the enter and the escape. Enter takes us into command mode. Enter takes us into edit mode and escape takes us into command mode. For saving a notebook, press escape and S. If you want to change the cell type of a particular one, their shortcuts are Y, M, and T. Cell creation, if you want to create new cells, there are two options. If you are in the command mode, you can press A to add a new cell above the current cell, or press B to add a new cell below the current cell. Now let us write some code and see how the output looks like. So my first program, I'll print out hello world. So this is how I write this code in Python: print, and then within braces, double quotes, hello world. To execute a particular cell, we can hit Shift Enter or Control Enter. When we do Shift Enter, it executes the code and then it goes into command mode. With Control Enter, it will execute the code and still remain in the edit mode. So there it prints out hello world for me. The code cell is executed. Let us look at a few other things. So if you want to have a slightly longer output, I can write a for loop for this. So I'll say for I in range 10. And as you can see in Python, when we write code, there are no brackets to say where the code starts and ends. Everything is white spaces. So a for loop, whatever we write within a for loop has to be within the braces. So for I in range 10, let me say print the square of every number from 1 to 10. So that's my code, and in order to execute it, I'll hit Shift Enter. So it executes this and then prints the number from I going from 0 to 9. Let's try something else. So as an example, if we want to put something like this, so the dollar sign says that this is an equation, and we can put out, this is the famous Euler's equation. So this is a markdown cell in which I have written dollar and then the equation 0 and ended by dollar, which says the equation is ended here. As you can see, in my markdown cells, it always gives me a preview of how the text will appear. So I hit enter and the text appears like that. So this is a maths equation. Similarly, we can have even longer expressions like these embedded into something. As an example, let me just copy paste here some text that I have got, and I'll change this cell from code to markdown, and it will show me how this appears like, and I can hit control and enter and it shows me how the expression looks like. So it says this expression under root of 3x minus 1 plus 1 plus x the whole square is an example of text inline equation in markdown format. Now we can do many other fancy things. As an example, if you want to create a table in markdown, Jupyter Notebook supports the usual GitHub kind of markdown formatting. So to create a table, all we do is have these pipe operations and then write whatever we want in between and then organize it. So if I want to create a table like this, I can do that and change this to markdown, and we will see how this appears like. So it appears like a table with columns and rows and so on. So similarly, you can execute whatever program you want. You can write what the program does. It will give you the output of this and so on. And that is how you use Jupyter Notebook to write Python code and execute it. What to do if something goes wrong and let's say your Jupyter Notebook doesn't come up? So if you are using a menu shortcut or Anaconda launcher, you may try opening it from the terminal or the command prompt. If you cannot find Jupyter Notebook, it may mean that you might need to configure your path environment variable in Windows. If that doesn't work or you're not able to configure the path, the easiest way is just to reinstall Anaconda version of Python, and the default settings will set up the path correctly. Also, sometimes Jupyter space notebook doesn't work, so you may try Jupyter-notebook. Both are equivalent commands. In some systems, sometimes one works and the other doesn't work. If Jupyter doesn't load or does not work in the browser, you can try another browser, as an example, Firefox, if Chrome doesn't work. This may help you pin down where the problem actually is. Also, if you have installed certain browser extensions, you might want to uninstall those browser extensions and check whether Jupyter is working or not. Finally, also, if you want help, you can always go to the Jupyter Discourse forum or look at Stack Overflow for Jupyter Notebook related issues. There's always an issue somebody already has faced, and there might be a solution out there somewhere on the web. So this is how we will use Jupyter Notebook. There are a few other things. As an example, if you want to install additional libraries for Python, you can do it from the command prompt. The way to do it is you go to the command prompt. Here, as you can see, my Jupyter Notebook server has stopped. So one way to do it is type pip and then install and the package name. Let's say I want to install a package called Tabulate. So I'll say pip install Tabulate. That's one way of doing it, and hit enter. We will need an active internet connection in order to install. Pip is a package manager for Python. The short form for Python package manager or Python installation package manager is PIP. Since we are using Anaconda version, we can also give the command conda install tabulate. So conda is the package manager from Anaconda, and this will also install that particular package called tabulate into the right package and directory. I hope this was helpful, and hope this will give you a good head start into using Jupyter Notebook for Python coding. Thank you so much.